This episode, I had the pleasure of interviewing one of the co-founders of Under Armour, who's also a current partner in Origin Jeans, Kip Fulks. Kip has a wealth of knowledge. It is interesting to be able to talk to him about some of the background to Under Armour, some of the amazing things they're doing at Origin, and you may just hear him talk about this outfitting business that he bought that he's never seen. I hope you enjoy the episode. Man, you hear that? Look at here. They're coming. They're coming. We're going to have a party. I'm talking good on barbecue. Hey guys, welcome back to this episode of the Old Boy Podcast. Happy to have Kip Fulks on with us today. Kip is definitely what would fall under serial entrepreneur. So co-founder of Under Armour. He's working with Pete and Jocko and the guys as a partner over at Origin now. And then also Big Truck Brewing and Bushwack Alaska, right? Your lodge out there now?
That's right. You got it
and
all.
I'm sure there's 2 or 3 other businesses in the works that we don't know about or haven't talked about yet. But welcome, Kip. Thanks for joining us today.
I mean, this is the only podcast I want to be on. I mean, it's got the best name. I'm 51 now, so I'm like, all right, I'm on the right podcast. Thanks.
There we go. There we go. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is, obviously your background with Under Armour, but we can talk about that in a bit because that's just a pretty amazing story, the way that brand grew, and I'm sure you learned a lot there. But Origin, to me, that one's a really, really cool one, and it kind of first came up on my radar when I was at a Total Archery Challenge a few years ago with Dudley and Jocko, and Jocko was kind of talking about it. And I mean, what a great story. Like when everybody is so, and look, I've worked for a company that still uses a lot of offshore manufacturing. I know, in your background with Under Armour, you guys leveraged it a lot, but man, like the story of Origin, it's pretty damn cool with everything being made in America, American supply chains, so many cool things. Is that one of the things that kind of brought you to the brand and made you kind of admire it and want to be a part of it?
I mean, I'm not there because of course, Jocko's amazing, Pete's amazing. And so you have like people you trust, but is it something that is bigger and interesting to believe in? I don't need to just hang around people to hang around people. That's not my style. Yeah, I fell in love with it. We brought a lot of manufacturing into the United States with Under Armour. But once we started to grow, we had to move out.
Yeah.
And so, we moved a lot of stuff out, and we're talking millions and millions and millions of units in other places. And the story's easy, man. It's hard to do. It's easy to like.
And that is, and that's funny because I get that critique all the time, like, working for Traeger. I remember when we first launched the Timberline grill, the first model, the high-end one, we had just came out with it. And one of our things we looked at was, hey, maybe we can use this higher-end unit to start bringing some manufacturing back to America. And I think we sent it out to 19 companies, and 16 didn't reply. And 3 came back with a cost that was about where we felt like our retail had to be.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, it's easy to fall in love with, but actually executing and doing it takes some real drive, some real ingenuity. But I'll tell you, like, the product is really, really nice. I've got some of y'all's stuff, and it's solid product. But how do you, and one thing you brought up with kind of the experience with Under Armour is once you scale to a point, that's the really, really hard part of keeping it here. What are some of the things you can do and kind of look forward on trying to still scale but still keep the model?
Well, being true to the Old Boy Podcast, everybody knows what a governor is on a golf cart.
Yes.
Or one of your old carts you drive around the neighborhood. That governor is really a limiter, and there's very limiting things you can do here in the States. And so we've really been smart on what can we do instead of sit there and bitch and moan what we can't. Yeah, maybe we can't make the Traeger grill right here because of some of that, but what can we? So we bought some facilities. Pete and Jocko, before I came on board, had a vision. I've come in and helped kind of build on that vision, but we found things that work. And I think that's the smart thing. And then over time, we can build more capability. but I would say the company is half the size it probably should be if we were buying Asian manufacturing. We have out of stocks a lot. Like we have a great new canvas pant called the Moab. It's out of stock every 3 weeks because we can't make enough. It's just hard. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's really difficult and the price is tough.
Yeah, and you know the other thing there, you know, that I love about the story is, you know, you guys were taking, you know, old factories, old machinery, and repurposing, giving it a new life. I feel like one of the places where we get in our way as Americans is we live in a fucking disposable world. Like we don't think about retooling shit. We don't think about reusing stuff. We literally just, oh, okay, it's not working anymore. Fucking throw it away. Go buy another one. You know what I mean? That's also a lot because we're buying shit offshore and it's made not as well as it is made here. And because of the price point, we do look at it as disposable. I love that part of the story about repurposing so many of these old factories and old equipment. But I also feel like, too, in doing that, and the last topic that we discussed about also is like, does it come a point where you go, you know what, if this brand and this portion of it, whether it be casual wear, if based on what we have right now, if we're doing this, and revenue and margin, that's fine. I feel like always corporate greed takes over, right?
Yeah.
If we have a pie like this, well, fuck, it should be like this. But it really doesn't have to be that way, because then you can look at other sectors, other opportunities like you guys have with Origin Hunt and some of those things. Where do you think that line is? And is that an okay discussion to have in the boardroom of, look, we don't just have to grow at a fierce pace. We can do controlled growth and just manage it as we can and as more opportunities and capabilities come up.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're having those exact discussions. I think there's a fine balance between, you know, if you're not growing, you're dying. But it doesn't have to be 100%. It could be 10%. And you can manage that. And I think you can become more efficient, you know, using technology, using AI, using robots. So even if you're not growing, you're getting more profitable, you're becoming more efficient. I think we're also very, you know, we're doing boot manufacturing. That's about as hard as it gets, literally. And then we're coming out with some rainwear, waterproof, breathable rainwear for the Hunt line. Nobody makes that in the States, and we figured it out. So this team at Origin is really, I think what you were describing, kind of our forefathers and our uncles and grandfathers, they were fortuitous. They could make shit happen.
Yep.
They could fix it, make it, break it, fix it all again, and then build a factory to build the thing that they needed to build the thing to build the thing. Yep. You don't know any of that shit. And I would say this Origin team is about as good as it gets when it comes to that. I've been around the world. I've seen a lot of good factory people. These guys are geniuses.
And you love that too, and that has to be one of the things too. When you're doing your due diligence, thinking about becoming a partner, just walking around and seeing that grit, that work ethic, that ingenuity, that these guys are running at a different pace and thinking at a different level that had to just be contagious and want to be a part of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm 24/7. I'm not going to get involved with people that are sitting on their hands. So no, that was clear from the beginning. And you know, it's funny, you say it and it's obvious, but not everybody does it. Not everybody just gets in there, grinds it out, doesn't take no for an answer, doesn't run into a problem, be like, well, I don't know. I mean, like, it's solution-based thinking from the beginning. And I would say that, yes, I'm attracted to that. That's probably contagious in general. I'm really anti, like, slow and anti, like, problem. I hate problem people.
Yeah. Yep.
I just don't believe anything can be solved. It's usually how much money and how much time.
Time. I always say that it's a factor of two things: time and money.
Yeah.
We can figure out but you can find a solution.
Yeah.
And that's really a mindset thing. I know, like, from my background, I've always enjoyed that environment. You know, I did three software startups, 2 turnarounds, then came to Traeger, which, the time I started was a $90 million company. So, I mean, for where we've came now, you can almost, even though it was 30 years old, it was almost like operating a startup because it was in this, archaic grill industry that grows at 2 or 3%. And all of us were like, dude, that sucks. How do you get excited about that in the morning? Hey guys, let's go kick some ass and grow $2 million next year, above line. Like, fuck that. Like, how do we make some noise? How do we disrupt like this stagnant ass market? And so obviously I love that high speed, fast energy. I always told people that worked for me, when you're in that environment, I like to empower people to make decisions. And I could always say, and I remember this was when I was at Publix early in my career before I was in software, I would get brought into a facility and I'd get 18 months to kind of turn it around and fix it. And so during that first 6 months where I was doing every job, you're out there 24/7. So like second shift, something would come up and I'm like, fuck, dude, been there 12 hours trying to get a couple hours sleep. Like, I don't need you calling me for every decision. So at that point I kind of said, look, if you can tell me how this decision was in your best interest, my best interest, and the company's best interest, I'll fucking defend you to management any day. But you have to empower people like that to run it at high speed. If you feel like you have to control everything, that's going to throttle, the ingenuity and the speed.
And I think the empowerment comes with a shared vision and a common goal.
Yeah.
So when you share those things, empowerment's easy. If you and I are not, we don't share the same values, we don't share the same goals, and I empower you to go do something, I'm probably going to be irritated with what you go do because we don't share a common interest. So I think starting with that, with Origin, obviously the vision with bringing back and onshoring, that's easy, right? So from there, it becomes so much more viable to empower on a daily basis because you already share the same vision and goal. And then in business, you got to make sure that the goals are clear and like, what are we actually trying to accomplish? But here's the thing. I don't want to communicate with people. I'm an introvert. And at the end of the day, employees, you got to pay them.
Yes.
The two things I don't want to do, I don't want to pay you and I don't want to talk to you. So I know I can't get around not paying you. So I can empower you so I don't have to talk to you as much.
Yes.
And so I think inherently, I've always been someone who's like, I don't babysit, but I do set a high bar.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like if you're going to create a company that operates at a high level, that bar's got to be high. If you hire a bunch of fucking middle of the road people, guess what you're going to end up with? A middle of the road or a below middle of the road company. Because usually what'll happen too is if those people are in the middle of the road and you let 20 of them stack up in a 30-person company, they're not going to get better. They're just going to get fucking sorrier.
No, it's all about, team sports is in my background.
Yeah, lacrosse guy, right?
You're only as good as your worst teammate.
And dude, you played lacrosse at Maryland. Like you played high level lacrosse. Like even my redneck Florida ass used to watch Johns Hopkins and Maryland on ESPN the 2 times a year they fucking aired it.
No, I ended up playing professional for many years, and it's a good sport, but it does teach you about the team atmosphere, and you got to sell out for the team, and you got to be unselfish. Lacrosse and hockey are very similar. Hockey, I always liked hockey because it has a double assist. Yeah. The guy that passed the ball or the puck, the guy who passed the puck to the guy who scored. It's the only game that has a double assist, so it truly promotes being unselfish.
Yes.
And I think that's all about having a great team. And when you got people that are just in it for themselves, God, that's hard to get shit done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. One of the things I was kicking around and thinking about our discussion today is kind of the change in landscape from when you guys launched Under Armour to what you're doing now with Origin. And to me, one of the biggest differences was, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but with Under Armour, I feel like you're out there competing against fucking giants with Adidas, Nike, so that whole market. But then too, it's like to really, really grow, you had to go in and get those big accounts, right? And get that retail space. Whereas I feel like now with online and social and AI and directed marketing, like you can have a company scale so much more efficiently than having to outlay all that inventory, all that cash, all the shit you got to do to buy that shelf space. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about a transition in culture and technology. And when I graduated college, I could handwrite a paper.
Yeah.
The very next year, you had to turn it in on a word processor. Today, it's all on the computers. When we were at Under Armour, Sports Authority went out of business.
Yeah.
And we used to have these debates. Retail is going to die eventually. It's not going to be the same. And I was like, let's go web. And we ended up building a $1 billion web business at Under Armour, but we also had a huge business with the wholesalers.
Yeah.
And today, you can skip all that and you can just go have a conversation with the consumer one-to-one.
Yes.
And that, to me, is probably the only reason Origin exists, because we take out the middle of the margin.
Yes. Yes.
That's it. And if people don't understand that business model, there's B2B, business to business, and then there's B2C, business to consumer. And so, like, we're direct to consumer, man. It's a great thing. And you also get feedback. What do they want? What do they like?
Yes. It's almost like you're getting consumer research without having to outlay to do a big ass research panel, right? It's just this feedback loop.
Yeah, we used to pay for it at Under Armour. I ran innovation and insights for many years, and we would hire these firms to do these studies and go talk to consumers. You have to do that. And I think that Origin and the early days of Under Armour, like, we are the consumer.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's a much easier business model than, like, I'm not into yoga and stretchy pants.
Yep.
I had to run that division, and that's really hard to make decisions when you're not like a zealot for that category.
Yeah.
So I do think being D2C and being a consumer ourselves, man, it's good. But it's, like, the technology is expensive. You got to hire people that know what they're doing. It's very data driven. So as much as it sounds easy, there's also a lot of challenges that you got to get right.
Absolutely. No, and the thing is, now, we collect so much data, you know what I mean? So it's like, really, the how do we look at what data we're really using to run the business, and what data is just like fucking there because we like hoarding data, you know what I mean?
I call data like the sawdust.
Yes.
When you go into a mill, and there's just sawdust everywhere, that's data today.
It is.
People are like, oh, fuck, what do I do? And there's brushing up some over here, and they're brushing up some over here. I think the future is going to be a lot different, where that AI is going to automatically consume the data that right now is just laying on the floor, and they're going to give it back to you in an insight, in a decision that they already did.
Yep. Which is going even further than, like, to me, I thought it was awesome when you can log into your ERP or whatever, and everything was dashboard driven, right? Yeah. Like, okay, here's where you need to pay attention. This is, you could almost be seeing an email that, hey, here's what you need to make sure gets done today. You know what I mean? As far as, here's what the data says. Boom, boom, boom. You're like, oh, shit.
Or whole groups of people that go away. Like,
yes.
You don't need an accounting team. You don't need a planning team. You don't need a buying team. The system's going to do it all.
Well, and that's where I feel like being someone, one that's just got a wealth of that knowledge that is almost like that game day knowledge. You know what I mean? Like where there is data, but then you have to make those gut feel calls. Yeah. Like those people, like for younger folks right now, it's like, if you're trying to work on your career and where you're going, one, I feel like that's why the trades are super safe. We can AI shit to death, but I don't know that a robotic plumber is going to come, fix my toilet.
Not anytime soon.
No. Could it be in the future? Absolutely. But a lot of this data networking, so much of this stuff, like, as you said, I mean, AI has all the capability to make that just something that it consumes.
Yeah, I think that human nature will always own creativity. But some of this remedial stuff is going to go away pretty quickly. I do respect and honor a lot of the tradesmen that are out there. And honestly, I said this to someone. I had a really, he'd been with me for 15 years. He just decided to move on into a different career. He's worked for me on a couple of my businesses. And he's a typical builder, house builder, contractor. And he was always fixing stuff and properties and helping me with my brewery. And he was just really good at what he did, and he could see, building things and construction was his background. And he decided to move on. And I said, cool, man. Awesome. I support you. I said, I want to tell you something. I'm jealous of you. And he's looking at me going, God damn, you got a lot more money than I do. How the fuck are we having this conversation? And I said, because you know more about what I'm going to need for the future than I do. And this world of building things with your hands, it's dying at such a fast rate that just the supply and demand curve, if you really want to make good money, go become an electrician. You'll probably make $500,000 a year owning your own business in the first 5 years. You just can't do drugs.
Yep.
You can't drink your face off. And you have to hire good people. If you just did those 3 things, you'll kill it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kill it.
All right, guys, proud sponsor of the show, 5-9 Whiskey. You will see me enjoying this from time to time during the podcast. It is delicious, smooth. I've shared it with a ton of friends, and all they want to know is, where can I get it? Built for the tradesman that's put in that long day's work, and when it's over, they want to sit down with a nice whiskey, enjoy those wins from the day, and get ready for the next one. Where can you get it? 5-9 Whiskey. That's spelled out, 59whiskey.com. Don't forget about the promo code, enter Old Boy Podcast for 15% off. Completely agree with you. I think that, you said it best. You exactly can. And we've had that discussion with some trade folks here on the podcast. And I really think it's one of those things that if you're looking for something, you feel a little lost, man, and you like working with your hands. I would think the trades is somewhere you want to go in, get trained. Like you said, keep your head straight, don't, because a lot of times, if you don't come from much and you start that company up and you start making a little bit of money, next thing you know, you're drinking and partying your ass off. But if you can keep yourself grounded and really just have a vision of growing and building that thing organically, absolutely, you can be independently wealthy by the time, you either get out of that business or sell it, for sure.
I'm looking at buying businesses. I'm looking at buying HVAC companies that have been around for 25 years, and the guy wants to retire.
Yep.
And he's got a book of business. He's got 5 trucks. He's got a good team. He just don't want to run it anymore. And he doesn't know software. He doesn't know automated billing. He doesn't know any of that. So I'm actually looking at a few to buy.
That makes a ton of sense, because you can bring like you just said, you can bring your knowledge in and handle all the back end stuff that he's probably either farming out or just doing a terrible job with, and bring some efficiencies to it. You got that book of business, pretty quick return depending on what you can pick it up for. Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's good for someone who's been doing it for 30 years that they can find a way to cash out too. Absolutely. Yeah. One of the Under Armour things I wanted to talk about is potential. In my opinion, probably one of the greatest in my generation, because it was right in the middle when I was like your target customer, was Protect This House. Like that to me, that was fucking sick, man. Like, and it like took over. Like, where did that, because I'm always, being in the marketing side of the world, like I'm always curious where these like what ends up being huge campaigns come from. What was the brainchild, that kind of thing behind it? Yeah, no. Well, one, I can't take any credit. I can take credit for a lot of things at Under Armour. That's not one. We were doing a photo shoot, and it was, typical tight-fitting stuff underneath the football pads with a bunch of jacked football players. And, I think our creative director at the time, Marcus Stevens, had a really keen eye for listening and learning to what's going on at the consumer. Like when we made our highlight cleat, we just saw people taping their ankles. And we're like, oh, we can make a cleat like that. So we had some really good people that were like very in tune, and they heard some guys in the huddle, like doing a little riff, a little free for all. And it was like, oh yeah, we got to pretend, they're like, what did you say? And so it was actually on the filming of a set that they heard some people saying it, kind of slang, kind of like talking shit to each other. Yeah. And we turned it into Protect This House, and really, it had a bigger meaning, right? The bigger meaning was David and Goliath. Like, get your shit done, protect the small town, protect your team against the big arch enemy, the
the Oregon Nike uniforms that have all the money, they have the big weight room, they have all the scientists, but we beat them fucking anyway.
Yeah.
Like, here's the deal. That says that grit and tenacity, and so it just fit the brand. It was so good. It was timing was so good, and you don't always get that in life. So that was one that I think was absolutely go down in history as a fucking genius.
No, it was like I would put that like next to Just Do It. You know what I mean? Like that one was because too, it was like you were hearing about the brand, right? You know, like and you were starting to see it. And
Just Do It is individual.
Yeah,
you know, like
it's true.
A team together. Now I think ultimately we're humans. We want to be together. We want to have connection.
Yep.
And I think brands that I like identify single pursuit. I'm not into that. I think I got to do my part as the bigger society. I will say, going back to something, because you touched on something like a little bit ago, like what's going on in the world and moving things around and AI and the timing of Origin versus Under Armour. And I want to say this to everybody that's listening, so you understand what's going on in today's world. Marketing and media and social media, that shit is CIA propaganda from 15 years ago. That shit was top secret 15 years ago. Now it's readily used in every corporate boardroom to sell you more shit. The corporate world is a propaganda machine, so you as a consumer buy more things. And us startup brands, we're right there too, trying to get our piece. So I'm not trying to say we're a saint, but I want people to understand that most of what they see and hear is actually good old fashioned propaganda. It actually changes your preview of who you are and how you sit in society. And it makes you make decisions that you otherwise wouldn't made. Why do I need that new car? Why do I need that new fucking blender? Why do I got to buy this? Why do I got to buy that? That's fucking propaganda. Let's just be really good consumers and spend money on the things we need, and they make our friends and family better and our life better, but let's stay away from the excess.
Staying away from the excess, you know, and it's funny. I get this question all the time. So I drive an '08 F-250.
Yeah, boy.
I could buy another truck. It's not an issue, but it's like, I sit there and I go, okay, I fly 225 days a year, so I'm never fucking home. Like, I don't need it. I drive like from here to my house every day to come in and do podcast or whatever when I'm home. So that's a 22, 23 mile commute. It just makes no sense to me right now. Look, when I get pushed all these ads of, you know, Rivian and all this stuff, you're like, oh man, dude, that looks cool. But like, to me, like, I feel like it would be just such a waste of resources to do that. Like, it's just not the right place to put my money. And I feel like so many people get caught up in that, you know, FOMO and keeping up with the Joneses and you know, listen to kind of the way you said that. It's a bit of consistent brainwashing.
It is.
Right? You just fed it over and over and over and over again.
And they're good at it. And it was shit they learned 20 years ago, and now it's made its way into corporate world. I will say that one equalizer that I've found to kind of wash that away or reprogram, you know, and I know you're probably passionate about it as well, is just the outdoors, man.
Yes.
Like when you can go spend the time in outdoors, it reconnects you to a bigger picture, and it actually reprograms the propaganda. So I truly believe, for my kids, for anybody else, for us adults, I'm getting ready to leave to Alaska on Monday. I'll be out there for 3 weeks running my new business, Bushwack Alaska. And I wanted a business that forced me into the outdoors because I believe in the value of that time.
You know, that is very well said. You know, one of the things that, you know, and Traeger's changed my life in numerous ways, but, you know, one of them is getting me more involved in the outdoors. Me and my dad, our thing was baseball. We traveled all over. That was before travel ball, but I played damn near year round. And that was our thing. Always my coach. We were not big hunters. But we spent a lot of time outside the ball fields. my best bud John growing up, like his parents were very into hunting, very into raising cattle. So I got exposure to it there, but it wasn't like a top priority for me. I was playing softball after college, all that stuff. So when I go to Traeger, like I'd been 1099 in for about a year and a half, and I was about to come on as actually a full-time employee. And my buddy Tyler Stark calls me and goes, "Hey, this guy John Dudley wants you to come cook a hog with him." And dude, that friendship with Dudley is like, there is nothing better. Like that was my first experience, is like going to like a real hunting camp and being the camp cook and hanging out with the guys, and him and getting to meet him and Andy and Evan from Black Rifle, and hang out and have camp with those guys and really build a connection and when you're around like-minded, aggressive, energetic souls like that, and it's just you out there in nature, no fucking phones, no television, just cooking, eating, having a cocktail at night, and then just going out and getting after it the next day. Dude, that's life. Like that's living. Like that's really where I think you can go out, recharge, get new ideas, get centered, and then boom, come back and take things on.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be hunting for people. No. There's a lot of statistics right now around health and eating. And if you just walked around the block in your neighborhood after you ate, it like plummets your glucose level. Just a simple walk. And vitamin D, outside, fresh air, stimulus, nature. There's a lot of new information about walking barefoot in grass with like grounding and all this stuff. And I think we've learned a lot about the human anatomy, but I think the next phase of health and wellness is all of this gray area on how does it all work together? Like, how does it work together? Why does an elephant hear an elephant from 2,000 miles away walking, or 500 miles away, because of the tremors and their pad and the size and the location? Like, I just think there's things going on that we don't quite understand. And then don't get me on the whole pyramids. Like, what the fuck? Where did those things come from? But I think nature is such a good equalizer, specifically in kids, because they're probably more in tune to that media and the device than we are, because they grew up with it.
Yes.
Got to get the kids into outdoors. Yeah, I don't even care if it's baseball or whatever. Just get them out. Just get them out.
Anywhere but in front of a screen.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I do want to talk about, this is a great transition. It was next to my list, and you kind of walked me there. Talk to me about Bushwack Alaska. It sounds like tell us a little bit about what it offers. Obviously, I know what drove you to it. Just wanted to have a great outdoors company, but looking forward to hearing about it.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been on the client side for a long time, hunting and fishing and buying hunts and traveling all over the world. And I kind of lost interest in that. And I wanted to be more integrated actually into wildlife management, the business of hunting. So I bought an outfitter and remote lodge in Alaska. We moose hunt, grizzly, brown bear, wolf, black bear, unbelievable fishing, salmon, trout, grayling, pike. So like I'm going to get my guide license so I can take people. My grandfather's from Fairbanks. I've been traveling to Alaska for 20 years. I just said, fuck it, Kip, you're 51. I made a deal. The previous owner is a really, really amazing person. He's going to stay on board. I have a guide partner. And yeah, it's a business. And I think for profit is the best way to get people integrated and a community. I like nonprofits that do things the right way, but I'm very reluctant that nonprofits are going to fix our cultural issues, like hunter education or these groups that are saying they're doing conservation. I'm like, I don't know. When you make money doing something, it attracts a whole host of people, like a Traeger. Look at all the people that are exposed to the outdoors because of the marketing and this, that, and the other. So I'm pretty pumped about it. I literally bought a remote lodge in Alaska with never setting foot in it.
No shit.
Yeah, my first time going is this Monday.
Oh, damn. That's awesome. You got to make sure
on the line.
You got to make sure you document that for all of us so we can check it out on your account. Like
I will. Yeah, man. I was like, I mean, I did my research, but at the end of the day, I was like, I can't let this one slip.
I know some houses being bought on a virtual tour, but I don't know if any lodges bought on a virtual tour. Oh boy, I like it though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit, if there was a virtual tour, I would have been happy. This was just me and an outfitter sharing some pictures, but I'm excited about it. It's fun. And I'm a big hunter. So this is where I've spent my whole life.
And the outfitters got to be excited about being a part of it too, I got to think, because here comes this new blood, new energy, another set of eyes to kind of help, take this thing to another level, but it's the bones of what they built. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where people have to look at things is somebody else coming in or somebody buying a portion of your company or something like that. Like,
It's not a bad thing.
No, a lot of times, you're taking a pie this big and you can turn it into this big, and your portion of this big a pie is a lot bigger than that one. And I feel like sometimes we get a little too testosterone driven, a little too, I think it's more prideful to be able to step back and go, you know what, this partner is going to take this thing to the next level than just go, nope, fucking done it this way for 10 years, just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, no, I think you're touching on something that I believe in, which is like, just diversity of experiences are always better together than separate.
Yes.
So we can take me, you, and a group of guys, and we can sit down and do anything better than one of us just trying to do it ourselves, because we're going to really problem solve from a lot of different angles and a lot of different perspectives. So I am excited. I also need to learn, so I'm humble enough to I'm not a guide. I'm going to be a packer for 2 seasons. So I'm packing people's moose out and pouring fucking coffee, and I'm totally fine because I want to learn from the bottom up. And I did that at Under Armour. I mean, I drove the forklift for many, many years.
And I was the same way, talking earlier about when I worked at Publix and they gave me a facility to go turn around. I mean, that first 6 months, I'd work every job on every shift because one, I was 23, 24 years old. So a lot of these guys had more fucking tenure at Publix than I had life. 2 was, how can you make any decisions about something if you've never walked a day in those shoes? So actually getting down there, getting on the line next to people, hearing their bitches and moans, hearing what they love about their job. You know what I mean? And and then just at the same time too, I mean, you have to understand during that process, you're going to find where the dead weight is. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to get rid of it and you're going to bring in fresh blood. But unless you go work beside those people, try to empathize and understand their job, any decisions you make from your ivory tower are not going to be respected. At that point, you're just a straw boss. Go out there.
They're going to say Under Armour douchebag made a decision and he never spent any time with us. Yeah. That's exactly what they're going to say.
Yeah, and then that is where you start having culture issues, right?
For sure, man. I mean, you nailed it. I wouldn't do it. That's just not my style. But I will say it is a lot of people's style that once they become successful, they kind of fucking forget how to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some reason, why does with more success come more fucking meetings? We have way too many meetings in a corporate environment. Way too, meetings about meetings. If you need something addressed, pick up the fucking phone, text somebody, Teams message somebody. All these big meetings with 10, 12, 15 people in them are fucking waste.
Yeah, I think people are true leaders. Great companies are ran by leaders that empower. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a good understanding of leadership, where you're always trying to get consensus of 15 people, always to agree so everybody feels good. Leaders are not fucking popular, man. You can go interview a bunch of people from Under Armour. You can go interview the people at Origin. There's probably a lot of people that are Kip's kind of hard to deal with. He's not really that fun of a person. Especially at Under Armour, and I'm sure some people would have some interesting stories, but I don't think leadership is a popularity contest. And I think a lot of times those meetings are just meetings so everybody can agree, and it's never going to fucking happen.
No, it doesn't. And just I'm not retracting, clarification, like board meetings and things like that once a quarter,
sure.
every twice a year, very well needed. But like these, like a random Wednesday, let's lock 15 people in a room and talk about next month's marketing plan or 3 months out marketing plan. It's like, no, dude, why don't we just, hey, here's the vision. Here's your responsibility, your responsibility, your responsibility. Put all that shit together. Everybody collaborate on it. And there's our finished product.
The way I fix that, and I've done it many, many times, because I think you stated something that was a lot of people deal with. And they're like, why the fuck are we doing this? What I do is I make sure that the metrics that you're being measured on are fucking crystal clear. So you can't just let people go do their thing when they don't know how they're being measured.
Very good point.
So if you give them those metrics, you don't need to have the goddamn meeting, because if you know what you're going to get your bonus on, you know what you're going to get reviewed on, and I've been crystal clear that these metrics are important to the company and important to your job, then I don't need to micromanage you. If you don't fix those metrics, you're fucking fired.
Right.
So it's all good. Like, you don't want to do it. The numbers don't lie.
Yep. Proud sponsor of the show, Trollco Clothing. Love what the brand's about. It's all about supporting that blue collar worker. You know them for their trademark shirt and hat, dirty hands, clean money. It's not just a slogan. It is a lifestyle. Go visit trollcoclothing.com and use my discount code OldBoyPodcast for 15% off. And I completely agree with that. Clear expectations sets you up for success.
Yeah.
Because that right there, if you've got the aptitude and the ability and you know what the goal is, you're either going to meet it or we're either promoting you up or promoting you out. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. But like you said, clear, measurable KPIs is the only way you can manage that.
Yeah, because then it's an
Very
opinion.
good point.
It's an opinion, right? It's like some managers like you, don't like you. I always tell people, like, business is business. It's not a sorority. We don't need to like each other. We need to respect each other. And we need to deliver. I think a lot of people in today's world are just really looking for I really like the guys I work with. That's cool, but you don't respect them? No, they're kind of lazy. They don't really deliver. I'm like, oh, I don't like them. So it's not a popularity contest. Just do your fucking job and go home. Like, do your job.
Yep. No, I completely agree. This
is truly the old boy podcast, by the way, because we're just like, fucking shut up and do your job.
but I mean, that's honestly, I mean, people want to earn a good living, build a good company, and at the same time have a great time, have time with their family, have some type of balance. You know what I mean? And to do that, just stay head down, stay focused. Don't waste time with all this ancillary bullshit. You know what I mean?
I also think back to your earlier point that the social media, the marketing, the negative side of that is like, we used to make fun of, and I don't want this to sound sexist in any way, we used to make fun of housewives that gossiped a lot. Well, that's basically social media.
Yeah. That's Facebook in a nutshell.
Yeah. So like, hey, be careful. Don't participate in that. Use it to empower, to uplift, to storytell, to congratulate, to build vision, to communicate, connect with people you may not know, like you and I. Yes. But don't use it as another tool to gossip, because gossip's not fucking cool.
No. I look at, perfect example of using social media for good. And actually the reference that mentioned us reaching out to you, a guy like Luke McFadden. Right. So here's this young, aggressive guy getting into this industry that, wasn't not generational, you know what I mean? But using it to say, look at me, here's what I'm trying to do. And what I love about Luke's account is it's real, right? Like if he fucks something up, he doesn't scrap it. He still posts it. But what he's doing with that is he's creating investment. People are going, dude, I like this kid. I want to see this kid succeed. And he's just sharing his day-to-day and what he's going through with you and the challenges of building this business. But I love that about his account.
Oh, my God. I mean, we sponsor him at Big Truck. He's a local guy. I wanted him to be a part of the Big Truck family. He does a great job with helping promote our brand. We try to promote him. But you nailed it. Like authentic, positive, but he's not hiding. He's just putting it out there. I mean, I think he's part Korean crabber.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, doesn't happen in Maryland. So he's breaking the mold, not only culturally, but his age. Crabbers tend to be older, so just across the board, we've only known each other for maybe a year and a half now. Just impressed, man. And I was like, we got to be a part of his story. And I'm pretty happy that he's a part of the big truck family, because I see some big things down the road. And he's killing it, man. He
is. He really is. And it's interesting in talking to some of these, younger social media business types. He's one. We've got one that works with Trollco, Lexi the Electrician, huge social media following, one female electrician, using the account to teach people about electricity, but also attract females to the trades or to the electrical trade. But it's cool when you see them just doing it honest. But now, brands are starting to reach out with opportunities. They're getting opportunities to do their own lines of products. Like, good for them. Like that, like you were saying, that's using social media for the right cause.
Not gossip.
Yes, not gossip.
I mean, it's nuts the amount of, it's funny with my account. I'm 13 Pacific Waves. That's my Instagram handle. I really don't do Facebook. We use it for big truck, but not for me personally. I'll post something stupid, ice bath, workout, maybe some business thing. If I get one negative fucking comment, you're blocked.
Yeah.
Like, not even, I don't answer you. Mm-hmm. I don't respond to you. Some guy just posted, I got out of the ice bath. He's like, looks like you're juicing. I was like, bro, block. Never touched steroids in my entire life. I would never. The fact that you have the audacity to not know me and say something about me. And then some other person was like commenting on, like, they didn't like the music I had did the reel to. Blocked. But guys, I don't fucking care. Yeah. I'm not in this for gossipy and your opinion. I'm here to uplift and share. Like, fucking move on. People are so, like, I think the propaganda has affected them more than me. And I don't know why, right? Because we're all in the same world together. We're all consuming the same social media. There's some sort of willpower to prevail in some scenarios. Probably has to do with your childhood and blah, blah, blah. But that shit doesn't fly with me.
No, it doesn't need to be such a negative space. And it's funny, sometimes hitting on, like, I remember the first time I went on the Dan Patrick show, like, and I was probably 150 pounds heavier than I am now. And dude, the comments were fucking terrible. But I'm like, you know what? Am I going to sit here and lament over this? Or am I going to sit here and celebrate? I just did fucking national TV for the first time with Dan Patrick, one of my fucking heroes. Like, you know what? Fuck these guys. I'm going to go eat a cheeseburger. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Were they telling you something you didn't know?
Right. Exactly. It's like, dude, so it's one of those where, you got to take that shit with a grain of salt. And look, I'm the kind of the same way. Like, if you get that negativity, like, don't have time for it, block it, mute it. Like, hey, let's all, to me, like, proper use of social media is just expanding your community. You know what I mean? In a positive way.
I always say it says more about you than it does me. If you have to break someone down to feel good.
Yep.
That's fucking, like, almost psychotic. Like, you're kind of like, you look at a cat that walks by and want to skin it and kill it, and, like, are you starting to become a serial killer?
Yeah.
You're fucked up. If you have to break someone else down to feel good, like, what's fucking, you got issues, man.
Yep.
Deal with your issues. It says more about you than me. That's what I always say.
Totally agree.
Serial killers, all of them.
Yep. You brought up earlier, we were talking about Luke, and when I was kind of getting ready for this discussion, I was sitting there going, okay, so Kip, you didn't think it was hard enough breaking into the sports apparel business against Nike and all these guys. Now you decided to get into beer business, which has its own set of, challenges and competition and all that stuff. So what was the idea behind Big Farm Brewery? Is it just a passion thing? Like, where did it come from, and where do we sit and where are we going?
Well, one, I think everything is a passion thing. I don't do anything unless I have passion.
Agreed.
I wanted to take a new category that I've never been in and build a brand. And I don't come with any beverage experience. It's not something that I came from my family or this, that, and the other. And I wanted to take farming. Well, we grow our own grain and some of our own hops. And I wanted to use it in the production of something. I maybe thought of vegetables. I thought of some other stuff because I'm really into just the land in general. And, I'm not a big drinker. I haven't been drunk in 20 years. I do like to work hard or fish all day, hunt, and get back to the truck and just dude, a nice cold one. I love it. It feels good. I grew up with it. My dad had the Coors Light in the back of the truck, and there's something nostalgic. So I really just wanted to build a brand that spoke to a bunch of consumers that were being ignored. And if you look at the craft beer industry with flying pigs and Paisleys and dogs smoking cigarettes and the craft beer labels with the changing brew schedule and all this stuff, I'm just yeah, I'm not going to win at that. I don't know that. But I know this guy over here who likes God, country, family, likes to hunt, fish. He works hard. And I don't see a lot of beers that fit him.
Yeah.
And I'm I think he needs a big truck in his life.
I love it. And the brand, it just, and looking at the logo, the name, everything, it's so accepting and kind of so inviting in. You know what I mean?
It's trucks, man.
Yeah.
The truck is the thing that drove you to your first fishing trip. The truck is the thing that your dad worked on in the garage. The truck is trust and reliable. The truck is timeless. You see old trucks, you like them. I don't care if you're left or right. You see a classic truck, you're like, man, that's fucking nice. That guy respects that truck. Mm-hmm. So the big truck in general holds a really, I was in a 68 Bronco with the first elk pack out in Montana with my grandfather and my dad, and I slept on a hindquarter of a warm, dead elk. So for me, it was one of those early experiences. But the truck was always the thing that was there. And so I picked it. I could have put a big buck on the front of it, or, I could have called it something else. And I love trucks myself. I just think America loves trucks.
Sure.
And I think my consumer immediately walks into a store. Say if you walked into a craft beer store or a liquor store or whatever, and big truck was there for the first time. And you're like, oh, what's that? When did you guys start carrying that? Mm-hmm. Versus all the fucking other labels.
Yeah.
You just walk by them. You don't even stop and think about it. So I'm pretty excited, but you hit something that I've learned since I've been in the beverage industry. Very competitive, controlled by the distributors. Mm-hmm. The big brands have a fucking arm lock for pricing. And I'm a local brand here in Baltimore. I want to be in Ravens Stadium. Sure. I want to be at Ravens Stadium. That is my customer. I can tell you right now, the Ravens fans are my customer. But I got to pay corporate to get in there and blah, blah. And I'm just I don't know, man. I'm for the people.
Yep. No, it's a interesting, dirty business. And because it's okay, you got to get past the regulation part because you're doing alcohol. Then you've got to get through the distributor part, and that's a whole other enterprise in its own, and then you got to worry about where does it end up going from the distributor. You know what I mean? Is it hitting the shelves you wanted to hit that you needed to hit, So there's a lot of relying on others that makes it uneasy as an owner, in my opinion.
And there's very little where I can just sell it right to your door.
Right.
And I think that two-step distribution model is I sell to them and they sell to the store or restaurant is very difficult. And you have to motivate people that aren't reporting to you, a bunch of sales guys that don't work for you.
Yeah.
So it is a very, I've learned a lot, there's 900 Bud distributors. There's probably 800 Coors Light distributors. And there's a network out there, but to break that network is extremely hard. And we're having fun with it. We're growing state by state. Maryland, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia. We just opened up Virginia and North Carolina. We have Delaware. So we have a nice little footprint. I'd like to get into some of those middle states, Tennessee, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Arkansas. I'd like to get into Texas. I mean, big truck in Texas. Come on. So I'm just chipping away at it, man. I appreciate you bringing it up. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money too.
Yeah. How many SKUs are you distributing? Curious.
Our core SKUs is 5. I'm pretty limited.
I feel like though when you're starting a brand, that's about right. You know what I mean? Like, so what are they? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you got an ale.
Yeah, we got a hazy IPA, which is badass. That's called our half cab hazy. That's a 68 Bronco. We have a K5 Blazer, which is topless blonde. That's a light blonde. We have the crew cab, which is an IPA, and we have a highlight, which is a light lager. Like, dude, keep it simple.
The names crush it too. I love that.
I mean, you got to have a good name, right?
Oh, this also comes from a guy that names all his seasonings after whiskey components. So yes, so I like it because it kind of follows to the same thing that I've done with our seasonings here at Whiskey Bents. That's pretty funny.
Is it easy to memorize? The craft beer industry has a recall of less than 40%. That means it's 6-pack at Christmas. Someone brings to your house as a gift. And they're like, oh, yeah, here you go. I appreciate it. I love your podcast. Have a 6-pack. Next Christmas, you go to the store. You're like, I really like that beer. That was a good beer. Fuck, what was the name? God damn, that was a good beer. What was the name of that fucking beer?
Yeah.
And you go up to the counter. You're like, hey, I had this beer. It was kind of green label. I don't remember the name. It has a low recall. You can't recall if someone gives you a 6-pack. Big Truck is a 93% recall. Someone gives you a 6-pack, next Christmas, you're like, dude, that Big Truck you gave me was pretty good.
I love that. And that, so how long have you been in that, Kip? How long you had that started?
3.5 years.
Man, that's solid distribution in those states. Are you
guys fucking go. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, there's no sitting on hands with that bullshit. Are you guys brewing everything, or do you do use any contract brewing?
I ran out of space. My facility can do about 10,000 cases a month. We ran out of space. I can't make any more out of that little facility. I have my own tap room, so you can come to my tap room. That's obviously in Baltimore County, Maryland. But I use co-packers to make some more beer, because I decided, instead of building another big ass brewery, why don't I go spend that money on marketing? Why don't I go spend that on product design? Why don't I spend that on other things so people can live the brand? Why am I going to build a world-class brewery? So we have a great partner. I just inked a new deal with the guys at Philly Standard, Yards Brewing. Super good guys. State-of-the-art equipment, crisp, clean, and their brand is Philly Standard. They're work hard, hardcore Philly guys. So half of my beer will be in Maryland and half of it will be in PA. But it's Big Truck. It doesn't matter where it's brewed.
No, I completely agree. You'll get a kick out of this. My buddy has a restaurant in Cleveland, got a little ownership in it, and we've known each other forever.
Big Truck on there.
So we ended up starting our own brewery.
Oh, cool.
So it's at Case Western University, and we just got a sweetheart deal to go in and run a couple of the restaurants on campus, because they've got a huge endowment. The last thing they want to be into the food business.
Yeah, sure.
So Matt Van jumps in there and says, all right, man, we'll run these couple of restaurants, this and that, and kind of start looking at where the place is making money and this and that, and start realizing all the money in friggin' tap beer on a college campus.
Yeah, big time.
And so and the school's one of those that's just super awesome about, covering common area fees, and, like they want us to be successful. Right. And, so we get talking to them. Next thing you know, they're like, well, we'll go in partners on a 3-tank system if you guys want to put a brewery down in the basement and brew our own beer here. And like, oh, well, cool. So that'd be awesome. And then Matt's not one to go, oh, cool, we're going to start, oh, no, shit, how are we going to distribute through Ohio? So next thing you know, this is all happening right around, we've got it all started right before COVID starts. And so then it's like, and we just got like a canning line. And so it's like,
hey, I've been down the same road, bro. I bought my first canning line, and I had a 7-barrel system, and then I went to a 30-barrel system. And hey, I didn't grow up with this, man.
No.
People want to know me from listening to the podcast. I don't give a fuck. I'll figure it out.
Yep.
I don't care.
No, and that's where sometimes it's fun to do something that that you don't know much about. You know what I mean? But you know that you have the business acumen and experience to learn that and do the best you can with it.
Yeah. Hey, if I knew what I knew now, I probably would have bypassed the beer industry. Like, it is tough.
Yeah.
It is tough.
But now you're pot committed, old boy.
Yeah. And I think, at the end of the day, people are allowed to make mistakes. People are allowed to fail. You're also allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to go a different direction. I did this for a while, but I don't want to do it anymore. I want to do this. If that doesn't work, I'll do this. Like, you're not defined by the past. You're only defined by, did you have a really good day today?
Yep.
That's really it.
No, I absolutely. I love that way of looking at it, for sure. I wanted to talk real quick before we've almost blew through our hour, which didn't surprise me. I knew we'd have plenty to talk about. Where on the origin side, where did the desire, and I think it was probably mostly consumer driven, to start the hunt division? Because I was looking at the stuff you guys have been working on, and it's friggin' phenomenal.
Yeah, we got some great product coming out everywhere. I brought the idea I built a $350 million hunting business at Under Armour called the Outdoor Division. It's since not quite that size anymore. They let it kind of fall to the wayside. But I went to Pete and Jocko and said, I think this hunting thing could be a good part of the story. And I brought it to there, and I helped him hire a couple people. I developed and designed the line myself. And I can't say that. I didn't design the actual products, but I managed the process. But it was my idea, man. I love hunting. I wanted made in America hunting. Hunters are the most Americana people out there. And I will say the other hunting brands, including Under Armour, they make great stuff. They make great stuff. It's all made in China and Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that helps wildlife in the United States. I do not understand that your logic is, I have to have product that moves money out of my own state or country. It is counterintuitive to the health and wellness of our great outdoors.
Yeah.
Now we're hearing stories about Chinese companies buying cattle ranches in Montana. We're hearing stories of billionaires from other places buying cattle facilities in Texas. It's like, that's because you've been putting all your money in their goddamn pocket, and now they're buying the farm that you used to hunt on. What the fuck is wrong with you? Now we have an option. Yep. And if anybody else wants to start a made in USA company, we'll share all the information. Here's how we did it. You go do it too. I'm disappointed in all those brands that they could have invested money to make more products here in the States, and they fucking put profit over wildlife and conservation.
Yeah, no, it's a very good, it's an amazing point. I was thinking back last night, getting ready for our discussion, and I was thinking, in the software business, I had one client, the CEO was a whack job, a guy named Dove Charney. It was American Apparel. But American Apparel made a shit. At that point, all their product was made in LA.
I remember.
And dude, it was sick. Like, it was coolish. Now, totally different than I expect of the vibe to be at Origin if I get to tour that facility. But I mean, you had a bunch of just, one, like the sewers and all that were your typical, but everybody else that worked there was probably high as shit, early 20s. But the vibe of the place, these people were stoked that they were making fucking clothes in the U.S. for Americans. You know what I mean? And this is pretty left leaning. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but they were just stoked on that idea. And you go into that huge fucking factory and they're just getting it done. You know what I mean? And it's impressive to watch. And I was sitting there going, and I remember talking to Dove, like, you know, he's like, dude, I got my cotton places down in North Carolina that I'm buying this from. And here's how I'm transporting everything. And like, it was, as much as I thought when I first met him, he was into it for just getting to the corporate greed part of things. He took real pleasure in making that clothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's, you know, in what you guys are doing, there's enough of those stories out there that goes, it passes the sniff test. Dove making products in LA is not what drove him out of business. Leasing a fuck ton of commercial real estate in New York City, Chicago, other big cities with these huge bloated leases, thinking he was going to blow the company up and sell it. That's what killed the company.
Yeah.
But not manufacturing in the U.S.
You know, it's interesting. There's something that's behind all of this. There's back to the propaganda machine, back to the marketing. You need a jacket that keeps you a little bit warmer. Mm-hmm. Well, my grandfather wore a shitty flannel. So the propaganda, it just makes you soft.
On one of your posts, you were like,
these products.
You were like, my grandpa killed shit in jeans. Don't overthink it.
And I'm the guy trying to tell you to buy some hunting product from Origin, but right. I'm also telling you that all that, I'm not going to name the brands, all those layers that they offer you and all that fucking waterproof, breathable and pads in the right spot, you're fucking soft. You're fucking soft. You don't need all that shit to kill. Because look at history.
Yeah. No, they back in the early days, they weren't wearing any camo and they were killing plenty.
Does not make you a better hunter. People are like, well, it makes me more comfortable so I can stay out in the woods longer. I hear that a lot. Well, I really like this blah, 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 $500 insulated, waterproof, breathable jacket from one of the big brands because I can stay out in the woods longer. You mean you're not that tough? You mean that's what you're saying, right?
Yep, pretty much.
You get cold because you get cold and you come in. Oh, yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, I got it, but let's just call it what it is. So we can make stuff in the States and you can have a great hunting experience with your kids and family and you can wear some American-made product and you're going to be successful. That's all I'm saying.
I love it. I got two last things for you, Kip. First is, now that we've had this discussion, is there anybody you can think of in your network that we should reach out to and have here on the Old Boy podcast?
Shane Dorian, big wave surfer.
Oh, Shane, yeah.
Bow hunter, inventor of the life jacket that they pull the cord if they get held down on a big wave. Now all big wave riders. So he's an innovator. He's a savage. Tow-in surfing was becoming famous.
Yep.
And they would tow people in and they would catch waves. And Shane, as a young adult Hawaiian, said it's disrespectful to not paddle in. That guy needs to be on the Old Boy.
Absolutely. Keeping tradition, baby. I love it.
And maybe some good Hawaiian people would appreciate it too. So
absolutely.
Shane's a good friend of mine. That's one that comes to mind.
Man, I would love to. I've always respected Shane. I think we got him a grill back in the day, talked to him briefly, but nothing more than that.
Yeah.
And just always seems just, a lot of times when I don't know somebody and I'm trying to understand them, I'll always look at how does their community treat them and how does their community hold thoughts of them.
Oh, he's a fucking legend.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly where I was going. He's a fucking stud.
Yeah.
And then, man, the last thing, I just wanted to thank you for the time. And if there's anything you want to hit on the way out, and I've really enjoyed the hell out of it, Kip. And I could see you coming. Love to have you back on as things progress. And, I'm really interested in learning more and following you on this journey into your outfitting.
Yeah.
I could tell you had a real energy when you talked about it, and just looking forward to learning the business and growing the business. And I look forward to following along with that.
Yeah, man. I think if anybody wants to know the dumb shit I get into, 13 Pacific waves, but Man, it's a really cool podcast. And I just really appreciate you guys thinking of me and reaching out. So I'm super appreciative as well. And yeah, let's do it again. I love it.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, Kip, thank you so much for your time. And listeners, thanks so much for y'all. I hope you enjoyed this one just as much as I did. Until next time, take care. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Old Boy Podcast. Please subscribe, like, set your notifications, whatever you got to do to make sure you're getting the latest episodes. Also, feel free to go back, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple, get some of the past episodes, check those out, and always feel free to check out our socials, Old Boy Podcast. Thank you so much.